Hi, everyone. Good Sunday morning. Welcome to Grounded with John Tester and Maritza Giorgio. How you doing, Senator?
Well, I'm not on the tractor. It's snowing, uh, which is good.
Like actually snowing, like right now, or there's just snow on the ground?
As we speak, it is snowing. So it's not like being in sunny DC where the weather's 90 degrees, probably where you're at. But yeah, it's a little chilly. But we're gonna hopefully get after it
It's
later.
not nine. It's not 90 degrees. I will tell you that. It's not 90 degrees. I think it's about 50, 60. Haven't been outside yet. So I'm in DC. Um, We didn't plan to come on today. I don't have any outline. I just thought we should come on and talk about what happened last night. And so, for everyone, like, as you're watching this, feel free to throw messages in. I'll answer as I can, as I know. Don't want to spread any misinformation or speculation, but we can talk about what went down. So, of course, last night was the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And, uh, you know, leading up to this weekend, it just felt tense, right? Like we've been talking about this. It just felt tense because so many people were saying, how are they holding this dinner and inviting this president who attacks the press every single day? How are we going to celebrate journalism and a free press and the fourth estate with him in the room and raising a glass to him when he attacks the press every day? I mean, and this has gone on for years and years and years, and we've seen so many press freedoms stripped away. And so we knew something, like I just knew something weird was going to happen last night. I just knew I did not think this was going to happen though. Tell me about your night. Like when did you first hear about this, Senator?
Well, I'm not in DC, and I was watching the Nuggets play. I believe I was watching the Nuggets play Minnesota, and the news came across my cell phone that the president had been evacuated. Didn't talk about a shooter, just said that there was an incident and the president's been evacuated, which could mean a lot of different things, but it ended up being a guy who rushed through the magnetometer and it's still unclear whether he got into the room or not, where the banquet was, but certainly got close enough to be of concern. Um, yeah, and so it was another incident of political violence, which we can never accept as normal at any moment in time. But it seems like it's occurring with more regularity. It reminds me of the '60s, quite frankly, when I was just a little kid, and there was political violence way more regular than it should be. And it's it's appearing to happen now in the same sort of regularity, which is a problem. Um, and I think it's a serious problem, and I am not a person who's going to analyze mental health and why people do this, but in the end, in the end, in a free democracy, it's not something that bodes well. Let's just put it that way. And so that's where we're at. I will also tell you the problem I had, and it was the same problem I had with Butler, and that is that when the president got shot at, and he ended up standing up, hollering, "Fight, fight, fight," which was pretty abnormal, quite frankly. It's a situation where you get part of your ear taken off by a bullet from a high-powered rifle, which was hard to understand to begin with, knowing the kind of damage that a bullet that close to your head can do. But and you're able to get up and they make a political statement with it, which is interesting because the same thing happened last night. The president, who's you can say they were going after cabinet officials, or maybe they were going after people in Congress that were there. Maybe that's who he was going after. I'm not sure that information's out yet. But the truth is, you've got to assume that he was probably going after the president. And then afterwards, you have a press conference within probably a half an hour of the incident, which um, I don't know if you understand the gravity of the situation where somebody's trying to kill you, and and you have a press conference, and the press is there en masse, and they ask the questions that were what are you going to ask after an assassination attempt, really? But that kind of stuff worries me because if you try to normalize assassination attempts, then they become normal, and I don't think it's
Yeah.
not good for a free democracy.
So I'll kind of go through what I saw and what happened.
From your
You
angle,
know, from my angle. And feel free to throw questions in the chat here, and I'll do my best. So I was across town. I was actually right next to the White House. I was at the Renwick Gallery, literally kitty corner from the White House. We saw the
yeah, and the hotel where the event was at was a long ways from the White House. So go ahead. Yeah,
right. Yeah, yeah. It's quite a bit away. So I was there. I went there for the Substack party. For new media. So we got there and it was like all these people that we've had on our show, Senator, all these people we know, call friends now. I mean, Jim Acosta, Scott McFarlane, Aaron Parnas, um, Tara Setmeyer, Joe from Jers, like all of these people, right, who we know and love and interact with. And we're all there and we're all kind of, talking about this event, talking about the dinner. How's it going to go? What's going to happen? Like, what's Trump's speech going to be like? And it was just a room full of, again, lots of people we know well. And lots of people who have both been to the dinner or been dinner adjacent throughout the years. And so we were just having a good time and open bar, food passed around. It was a really beautiful event. And literally like it was cool because so many people just had their phones away. Like we were just talking. It's really rare to be somewhere where nobody's on their phone, right? But all the little circles I were in, like I was in there, they were just talking and I looked down and my mom is sending me text messages. Like, did you see it came my first message was at I think it was 8:46 was the first message I got from my mom. And she just said, um, "Did you hear what's happening at the correspondence dinner? Gunshots and cleared from the front table, 8:43 p.m." And I literally said, "What?" Because nobody in the room was reacting. I mean, this is a room full of top DC political journalists that everyone, is unaware. And I started like running around and I was looking specifically for Jim Acosta or Aaron Parnas because those two are always like right on top of it. Scott McFarlane too. I should have been looking for him, but I was just like looking around like what's happening? And then she started sending me stuff. I Googled it really quickly, saw an article. So I went up and I started telling people like what's going on. And at that moment, everyone's mom started calling and texting. I'm not kidding. So many people I talked to said, "My mom called me. That's how I knew," because of course moms are worried about all their kids, right? And they're watching what's unfolding. But we were so isolated from what was going on. And then, everyone inside that room, our friends, our colleagues, our families, for some people, they're hiding under tables. They're not texting us, right? I mean, you saw this collectively, this room jump into action not only to protect themselves and get under the table, because they did hear shots fired. They didn't know what was going on. The initial photos I saw were people hiding and and kind of barricading themselves, and they looked really scared. And I think as everybody started to figure out what was going on, our venue was locked down. We were right next to the White House. The streets all around were shut down and they stayed shut down until I left. I think it was about 1 in the morning, and I left, and the streets were still shut down. There was police tape everywhere, but we were locked down, and there was a line of people outside trying to get in, and nobody was going anywhere. So we just stayed, and it was just like in this protected little bubble. It was so bizarre. But yeah, I mean, still this morning, so many questions. And I think, when I saw the White House Correspondents Association president, chairwoman Wei Zhejiang of CBS, she got up on stage afterward, visibly shaken. And she said, "Okay, well, the president just told me he's going to have a press conference in 30 minutes." And the room laughed because they thought, "Well, no, there's no way." And then they did. It was a completely surreal, bizarre night all around. By the end of the night, I saw my friend Liz Landers come in. She was at the dinner and then she went to the briefing room and she was shaken. I mean, it was just it was it was just a completely surreal experience, and I think we're gonna be unpacking this and processing this for a long time.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. I think there's gonna be more and more information come out over the next few days in particular, but probably for a lot longer than that. And look, when you've got somebody that has a gun and they're firing a gun or people are firing guns at them, all that information hasn't come out yet. There were guns fired, let's just put it that way.
Mm.
Um, and you happen to be downstream of those bullets. If you ain't worried about that, then you're not normal. It should scare the hell out of you. Quite frankly, a bullet, whether it's aimed for you or whether it's a stray bullet, you catch one of those, your chances of survival go down greatly. And so, for the people to be visibly shaken from this event is normal, by the way. That's absolutely unequivocally normal. And for people to be not shaken by the event, to treat it like it's like any other happening, that is totally abnormal. Totally abnormal. And so that really becomes part of the challenges here that I think if this ever gets to a point where it's normalized, then we're gonna see political people of all ilks and all levels, be targets, and, we can't let it be normalized.
Well, and I think too, I was just thinking about this. I was watching the press conference from last night this morning because again, like we were completely isolated. We were in a loud room, music pumping, and it was just, again, it was like a fever dream. It's like, what is happening? What are we doing? And people had their phones kind of trying to watch a live stream, but you couldn't really hear anything. And so I watched it this morning, and yeah, I mean, I was thinking about this press corps and the journalists who I've worked with, some of whom I call friends, and the amount of things we've seen, we've been like there's that meme that says, I don't want to be unprecedented anymore. I want to go back to the precedented. Like, can we just go back to just normal? And we've seen so much of this, and you do become a little bit desensitized. And I think one of the other points that I wanted to make here, I mean, you know, again, like shots are fired, you're in a room, and you can't go anywhere. That's scary. Absolutely, that's scary. And we saw this room that, like, everybody in that room, I mean, the journalists, they're trained, and we're trained when something happens, you jump into action. You start to document, you start to take video, you start to like report and look around. And that's what we saw. And the fact that they all went to the White House press briefing room in their gowns and their tuxes. But I think also, they were also they were covering it and they were also in it. And so I
Yep.
think we just saw a lot of shock afterward. And I think that even the questions, some of the questions asked at the briefing, it was like people were just trying to figure out what the hell just happened and
Yeah.
what's going on. And I think we're even more scratching our heads today. I was going to put up, we can go over some of the timelines of what we know if people are interested, if people want to hear about that. But I will put this up. We saw the president almost right away talk about the ballroom. This is the need for the ballroom. This is why. And, we need to say that this dinner has been going on for a long time. This has never happened. Um, yes, the security there, when you go into that's a huge Hilton. Have you ever been to this dinner,
Yeah.
Senator?
I think I've been to the dinner once, many 10 years, 10, 12 years ago, but I've been in that hotel many times. There's a lot of groups that meet in that hotel. It's a long ways from Capitol Hill, so it's a hike to get there, so you gotta wanna go there. But it's massive, and I remember the first time I got there, that it was pointed out to me that's where Reagan got shot in 1981, I believe it was. And, so you remember that hotel. It's a big damn hotel, but I've been there
Massive.
multiple every year that I served in the Senate, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's a massive hotel. It's, like, kind of far away from, like you said, the White House, Capitol Hill, and, what I didn't understand, I've never been to the actual dinner, I've been to parties inside, so when you go in, like, I was there 2 years ago, and, all these networks have different satellite parties inside that hotel, And so I don't remember going through security when I was there to go I went to the CBS party 2 years ago. And because people are coming and going, and then when you go into the actual event, that's when you present your ticket, go through security and stuff. So, I mean, that there is a problem. You think about the people who were in that room last night, the president, the vice president, Speaker Mike Johnson, the FBI director, how many secretaries? Like, there were a lot of, I mean, the highest ranking people in our government, right? And so that video of this guy just rushing through and running through is just shocking. It's just shocking to see that, there are a lot of questions that need to be answered and a huge investigation that needs to happen about like how that happened, how that was allowed.
Well, I mean, you can see how it could happen. I mean, truthfully, if you wanted to rush the gate going into an airport, you could do that. You're not going to get far, and I don't believe he got very far, but the information will come out later. I mean, sort of putting up, you know, chain link fence or some sort of barricade, and then being able to tackle them immediately when they go through the magnetometer. I mean, I think that if somebody has it in mind that they want to do this kind of stuff, they'll figure it out. And it's really hard to combat somebody who's crazy, quite honestly. And that goes with all aspects. And so it's the way it is. But I gotta say something. I'm looking at the comments on mine, and I see a guy by the name of Dave Tweet from France that said, "Hey, he's watching this." And I'm not in the tractor because it's colder than hell. Dave's from Red Yard, Montana originally, been living in France for a long time. Really a good guy, and also a friend of mine, a guy by the name of Steve Cyber, who you know. So,
Oh, yeah. Steve's
yeah.
watching too, and I saw our friend Glenn Kirshner's watching, and it's funny, I spent a chunk of last night talking with Glenn, and we were talking with the actor Michael Chiklis, a fellow Greek, and we were one of the things that, I think is important to also talk about, I mean, literally throughout the night, we heard someone was killed, we heard nobody was injured. We heard some people was shot. We heard there were 2 gunmen at one point. We heard, I mean, it was absolute chaos. It was like trying to figure out if the Strait of Hormuz is open. It was just like you heard so many different stories, conflicting stories. And my mom was trying to send me information. I had all kinds of people checking in, but that's kind of the ugly side, well, one of the many ugly sides of this 24-hour news cycle is you're hearing so much and people are pumping it out, and it doesn't give us time to like take a step back, breathe and say like, "Okay, wait, what is actually happening?" And people just report things out, and then you get all of this confusing and conflicting information. And again, I was in a room full of the best, right? And nobody had it perfectly straight as to what was going on. So I hope we'll get some more answers today. Um, but
So,
and
I
in
think
the coming days.
and we will get more answers as time goes on and what the motivation is and who he was really going after.
So we talked about the ballroom. I do want to mention this. I might have touched put this out this morning. So right away, I mean, we saw a lot of mega accounts almost in lockstep put out their calls like, this is why we need the ballroom. So that is something that kind of we're paying attention to here. And then I also want to say that, Scott McFarlane, again, he was there last night. Great to see him and spend some time with him. He's been on this morning. And he says that this man, the Cole Allen, the man who was arrested here, he's being held in police lockup about a half mile from the hotel. I'm seeing reports that he was actually staying at that hotel, and that he will be in Washington, D.C. federal court tomorrow. So we're gonna be, watching for that and watching through what happens, but, um, it's just, like, I just don't even really know what to say. It was just absolutely bananas, wild, crazy night that I will never forget. Followed by, we're in heels and dresses and, trying to understand it. And our friend Jo from Jersey, she and I and Tara and another friend of ours, we walked afterward to the old Ebbett Grill, and our feet were killing us. So, like, what's a night in DC without walking 6 blocks barefoot through the streets while it's raining?
That's good. The other thing is the kind of no, in this comment I'm looking at, you're probably looking at the same ones. I don't know. One of the folks said he had a shotgun. He didn't have a rifle with the with a bullet. It has shotguns a blast,
Mm,
and he's true. If that was a shotgun, that's not something to use to kill people at any distance. That's short range. That's short range shooting, and so um, it's interesting. Like I said, there's so much information that is not out yet that will be very, very, very helpful once it gets to a point to find out if he had a sighted rifle shooting a 308 or whatever the caliber gun it is, or whether he had a scatter gun. So it's
yeah.
interesting. But the truth is, I'm glad you were able to make it to the next place you went to barefoot in the rain. And now you know that the streets are clean in DC, and it's all good.
They were. My feet were remarkably clean after doing that. Like, you just got to do what you got to do. Yeah, I again, yeah, the type of gun, all these things. The acting attorney general Todd Blanche said today that that they're collecting more details about this suspect, and that they do believe that that he was going after cabinet officials or the administration, that the president was likely a target. But again, this is really in the early stages. Like I said last night, we had so much conflicting information, and we are going to have confusing information as they work through this investigation. It takes time. It takes time to dig into this. So just, yes, there are a lot of weird things, a lot of questions. And yes, like this has become the singular focus now. We're not talking about the fact that uh, the president pulled his envoy that was supposed to go to Pakistan for peace talks yesterday. That happened yesterday morning. We're not talking about that. There was a huge memorial for Virginia Roberts Giuffre yesterday, and we're not seeing that on the news. We're not There's so much happening that we're not seeing, and this is going to become this is a focus. And yes, it was a shooting at a massive high profile event, but we gotta stay on top of all this stuff. We gotta stay on top of the headlines and talk about all of it, because there's a lot of really important stuff happening right now.
Absolutely, and the other thing is, there's a lot of things that are going on right now and this is just another prime example that does not indicate that we're making America great. That's for sure. And so that's the way it is. But you got anything else? I mean, till we get more information, I don't know. It's a hell of a lot more we can talk about, to be honest with you.
No, I was gonna let
Talk
me
about
pull up.
Iran, we can talk about Epstein files, we can talk about that stuff, but that'll wait for another day. Um, but um, but other than that, it's good. Other than that, it's snowing. Yeah.
It's snowing. Yeah, I'm gonna go get some food. I need some food. I need some coffee. I haven't had some coffee. Last drink I had, well, I had some water, but definitely, yeah, I know. It's
Don't
11 o'clock on the East Coast.
don't talk about the last drink you had. Okay, our viewers don't want to know about that. Okay, it's 9 in the morning, drinking
Some water.
straight vodka. I know how that rolls. I know how you roll.
Yeah. Yeah, what's in your coffee, Senator? What's in your
I got
coffee?
nothing. I got nothing. Like, I didn't even bring a coffee cup down. I'm done. I mean, I got up this morning before you did, and it's the way it is. But it's good.
One last point, and I think Representative Raskin made this point this morning. Um, this was a room full of terrified people, terrified adults who are used to seeing bad things happen.
Yeah.
And there's not a day that goes by that I don't see my kid walk out the door to go to school where I think about what could happen. And I know I am not alone in that. I know parents everywhere are worried about that, the drills, everything. And you think about how scary and shocking and chaotic this was last night for a room full of, high ranking professional adults who are used to seeing extraordinary events. And you can't help but think about our kids and the kids who have survived or seen or witnessed or been killed in these school shootings. And I do think that should be part of this conversation.
Well, gun violence absolutely should be a part of the conversation, and there's some things we can do without taking away Second Amendment rights that would help fix the problem. I'm not sure would fix this problem, by the way, because just like somebody who wants to get illegal drugs, they'll be able to get it somehow. But it certainly would make things more difficult for people to get to get rifles and handguns and those kind of things for people who are off top dead center. They're not mentally on top of things, and so I think that conversation needs to happen, but it'll never happen as long as Russia's funding the NRA. So it's the way it is.
Okay, folks. Well, hopefully you are having a peaceful morning, and it's Sunday. I think it's going to be a busy news week. I'm in DC. I'm filling in at Scripps all week, and so if you have any questions, if you see anything, as always, like shoot us a message, send us an email. We track that, and there's a lot to talk about right now. We just want to say again, and I told people at Substack this last night, like, thank you for being in this community with us. This has been just really such a rewarding and wonderful experience to be part of this and have the engagement that we have and be able to actually talk directly with you. It's pretty cool.
So the real question is, who are we having somebody on tomorrow?
Oh shit, yeah. Hey, thank you for keeping us on track, Senator.
I'm
Nice
not-
job.
I'm here
We
for.
are we are having LA Mayor Karen Bass on tomorrow morning. So she's going to join us. So we're going to be live with her. I think it's going to be about 10:30 Eastern.
Is that right?
Um,
It's
sorry,
good to know.
Senator.
'Cause I didn't know that. Is that right? I'll put that down on my trapper keeper if that's the case.
Well, I did email you.
Well, I never read your emails. You go straight. Your emails go to spam. You know that. That's the way it is.
you
But yeah,
know,
that's 8:30 my time. That's good. And then, so it'll be good because isn't there like there's going to be a lot to talk about with her? I mean, you got
oh
a governor
shit.
race, you got a governor's race, you got what happened last week with the guy who was actually leading the governor's race that had to drop out and drop out of the House, and you got what's going on with LA
Ice.
with ICE and all that stuff. So there'll be plenty to talk about for sure.
And
And
she was at the White House recently, and I want to talk about that. Like, what was that like?
was she at the correspondents dinner last night too? Or
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't know that for sure.
get a list of the Congress people who were there. That would be interesting to see who
Yeah.
was there, um, because getting their view on this would be pretty interesting for sure. So
Well, I expect you to send some text messages around then today and say, "Hey,
somebody would say, "Hey, man, I was in the line of fire and I survived." Which is true. Anyway,
uh, okay,
thanks,
yes.
John.
So join us tomorrow." And my brain is not functioning.
I'm sitting here 8:30, 9:30, or 10:30, depending on what time zone you live in, unless you're in France, and then it's going to be early in the morning, so that's okay.
If you're in
Uh,
France or if you're my family in Greece, yeah, you got to figure out the time difference. I have no idea. I have no idea at this moment where I am, or I just need some coffee. Just need to go get some coffee. And yes, everyone said Trapper. Yes, he does not. He puts it in a book. He writes it down in a book that he calls his Trapper Keeper, and it is. Let me tell you, as somebody who tries to schedule things with him, it is very easy and not frustrating at all.
that's right, exactly. Because you just tell me what time, and I show up like clockwork, the way it is.
Yes, that's right. There's never a problem, and I never have to remind you. And yeah, it's always smooth sailing.
I'm crossing off TBD and writing down 8:30 p.m.
A.M. A.M.
It's AM? Well, you didn't tell me that. It's 8:30 in the morning? Jesus. And it's not gonna be in the middle of the night in France. It's gonna be in the middle of the afternoon. What can I
They're
say?
gonna be sleeping. It's gonna be time for their afternoon nap. Uh, okay, this is enough. We are done. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to everyone.
We gotta talk about
Oh,
how oh God, you're just leaving everything out. So this for you guys that don't know Trio, you need to know Trio. Trio is for kids, first generation kids going to college. In the days of AI, this program is more important than any other program that's ever been in the past, and it's a good one, and it gets kids to school, and it gets them to be able to think critically, and it gives them a profession which they can make a living off of. And it's a program that depends on federal grants, and that has been a fight for them. I know that for a fact. So, but they've been very successful in the past. And if they keep getting support, they'll continue to be successful, and they add value to our economy. So that's that. And you
Um, I have one too. They sent me one.
got one. Just looks just like this one. Believe it or
Well,
not.
that's so nice. That is so nice of them. Um, yeah. So I have a chat 5:30 a.m. LA. No, no, we're gonna go 7:30 a.m. LA. 7:30 a.m. LA. 8:30 Mountain.
9:30,
10:30.
10:30 Eastern.
Yes.
A.M. A.M. and morning. Okay.
Oh my goodness. What a
Last night, but it wasn't enough. I'm just telling you.
there's no you're not gonna get any pushback from me. That's absolutely the truth. Thank you to everyone for joining us. This community is just amazing. We love you. Thank you to Pearl Jam for letting us use their music, and we'll chat again soon.